You can't hear me? Oh, now you can hear me. All right. Well, I'm glad you're here. I was going to say, how many have sore fingers after I got through with you today? Well, we're going to probably get the rest of you sore too before we're finished here. But I want to have prayer with you before we get started and ask the Lord's blessing. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the blessing of this church. And I thank you for each person. I feel so at home here. And I ask a special blessing upon them. As I make this presentation, please help it to be clear and help me to have the right words in which to say. And bless those that need your help today, because there's so many. For we thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen. I normally would not go to a church or a camp meeting or anything and talk about a product in a church setting. But this is such an important find that I feel that you need to have the information. Whether you do, whether you decide to buy the product or not, that was not important as much as the information. So we're going to talk about, actually, I need to stop this. Let me just go over here to pause. It's paused now? Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, that's my ineptness about computers. I'm glad we have this gentleman and others here that know what they're doing. Wish I did. But anyway, I'm going to talk about aging process. And we're going to talk about the anti-aging and what has been discovered. I mentioned yesterday a little bit about it, and some of you know about telomeres because I had several hands go up. But what you have is, in every cell of your body is called a telomere. And you'll see pictures of it in just a little bit. I'm going to show it on here. But I want to give you a little background first. And then I promised a couple of people in here I would talk about something a little bit differently. One about cleansing at home, and we'll do that at the end. And also how to rebuild the cardiovascular system. So those are two separate issues. But about 60 years ago, the Russians found in the human body what was called a telomere. And the telomere, they did nothing about it. Over the next 50 years or so, there were really no research done and no papers written about it, or very few anyway. In the 1990s, Harvard University started studying this thing called a telomere. But up to that point, they really didn't know what it was. But you have it on every chromosome, and every chromosome, the chromosomes are attached to every cell of your body. So you have them on every cell. And you actually have trillions of cells in your body today. And as I understand it, we have about 1 billion cells every day being replaced. And those cells that are being replaced like cells. And in other words, a kidney cell will produce a kidney cell because of the DNA information that's contained in the telomere itself. Now, what they discovered at Harvard, and other universities started looking into it, is the fact that a telomere has a certain length when we're born. And that length is called, the actual measurement is called bases. It's got to be very tiny because you can't even hardly see, you can't see a telomere basically on a cell with the naked eye. You need a microscope to see it. And so, as a result of that, they found that as we replicate our cells or the cells are reproduced, the telomeres shorten. And by the time we get to age 60 to 70, depending on lifestyle and diet and so on, we start to age. And we age rapidly at that point because each time the cell duplicates itself, let's see, maybe I'll turn this on a little bit without the sound for a second. Probably it'll have the sound. Well, let's try it.
When I get started.
Whoops, never mind.
And one is, has science improved and
Never mind. I think we'll skip that idea. I'll show it to you in a minute. But anyway, once we get to that age, then our hearing may be starting to fail, our eyesights maybe start to fail. We get wrinkles, gray hair, and our energy level may go way down. We may have trouble sleeping at night. Just a whole variety of things that happen with aging. But what they had found in animal studies is that they could reverse that. Now, you know, man has been looking for the fountain of youth probably for centuries, hadn't he? We can go back to the year in 1513. 1513, and that many years before Columbus discovered America, well, the Spanish explorers came in and they actually started colonizing what's now Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and the islands in the Caribbean. And in 1513, there was a young governor there who heard about a fountain of youth, and he went looking for it. His name was Juan Ponce de Leon, and you probably all have heard of Ponce de Leon. Well, he was the governor, and he set out, and he discovered Florida, and he named it because it was in the springtime, and it was full of flowers when he saw it, and so he named it Florida. And he went ashore, and the Seminole Indians fought back, and they had to leave the Florida, and they sailed back to where they were. 2 years later, he came back looking for that fountain of youth. Now, I don't know why, because he was young, but he wanted that eternal fountain of youth, which really only exists through Jesus Christ. So, as a result of that, he landed in Florida in 1315, and in 1315 he was killed by the Indians at that point himself. He lost his life. But the fact is that since that time, we have not we, because I really haven't looked for it, but many people have, and they've done it through facelifts, through plastic surgery, through creams and lotions and skin type of treatments and things of this nature to get rid of wrinkles and to look younger. Botox and so on. Every kind of treatment you can think of to make you look younger is out there. But what Harvard found was that they could actually literally do it from the inside out by extending the telomeres. So they were able to come up with compounds that they could do that with animals. And you're going to see that in just a little bit. Have an actual news clip from ABC News, and you'll be able to see it. So the animals, they take animals, and oftentimes they take rats prematurely, age them, shrink their brains like they'd have Alzheimer's disease. They'd be gray, and they got to the place where they couldn't go through a maze even to find food. And then they gave them these compounds, and it totally reversed that. Their gray hair turned back to the normal color. Their brains went back to normal size, and any type of medical conditions that they may have had reversed. And as a result, they become young rats. It's hard to believe. Well, they could not use these compounds in humans because they were toxic. And so, as a result of that work, there was a Nobel Prize awarded in 2009 for science and medicine because of the work on which they had done. At that same year, there were two scientists that got together. And these particular scientists were PhD scientists, biochemists, and they went to work to try to find a way to be able to reverse aging in humans. But they had to do it non-toxic. So for 2 years, they spent $34 million in research, and they were able to find components that were all 100% natural. They have improved their particular product. Starting next month in April, we understand, with the 4th edition, which will be stronger than any of the preceding ones. But it has definitely worked, and my wife and I have been involved with it for about 10 months, almost 11 months now. And the thing that really got me is what it did for my wife, because I mentioned yesterday her Lyme disease and the fact that we had tried almost every type of nutritional element. I've had herbalists that tell me, well, we got the answer for Lyme disease. I'd buy their products and it didn't do anything. We went to Julian Whitaker, some of you may know who he is, down in Newport Beach. We went through his hyperbaric oxygen for 7 months, she did. We had to rent a little apartment for her to stay in down there, and it's just too far to drive back and forth. And I would come down on the weekends, and she actually did really well with the hyperbaric. We were just thankful because they had a doctor that was in charge by the name of Dr. Jolly. That's a good name for a doctor, isn't it? Dr. Jolly. And he took a liking to us, and he was a Catholic bishop. And he worked with Mother Teresa, and all the money he made went into India and to the work there. He was really a good person and really a great man. And he took a liking to us, and he invited us to his home one night for dinner. We went to a dinner, and I sat between two priests. Never had done that before. And one of the priests said, I really like Adventists. He said, I'd like to know more about what you guys believe. Can we communicate by email? So anyway, we communicated by email. But anyway, Dr. Jolly would come in on Sunday afternoon and open the clinic and give her free treatments. You know, that's how good a person he was, because he knew our money was running out. But the problem is, after thousands of dollars, it didn't work. Yeah, she almost went blind for the oxidation that went through from all that oxygen. They would take her down up to 2.5 depths, which would be equivalent to 45 feet under the ocean. And then have to bring her up slowly. Now, she wasn't under the ocean. It was all in the clinic. But anyway, when she got through with that, she could hardly see to drive back to the little apartment she was staying in. And she would call me and says, I can't think. She had artificial dementia as a result of it. So we were very discouraged after we had gone through that. And we thought, we've tried everything. We're not going to spend money anymore. We're out of money. We're not going to keep spending money, and nothing happened. So she would have periods of time when she would be bedfast or nearly bedfast. She really couldn't do much to help me in our ministry and the health ministry we have. Until one day we had some friends call us and say, well, we hear about this product. It's called Product B, by the way. If some of you may have heard of it, it's getting to be pretty well known at this point. And as a result of that, I said, not interested. You know, we've tried everything. And then I heard this presentation, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get it put in my computer. And then I met the man. His name is David MacArthur, and his testimony was tremendous. And we've become friends now. He comes down to our ranch. He's given presentations there, and he gives presentations for us in Loma Linda, which we've started doing, and around, because we really believe in the product. And like I say, I don't normally want to go sell a product in a church setting, but it does so much that people need to be aware of it. They need to know. Whether you buy it from me, which I hope you do, or if you get it from somebody else or whatever, you need to know about it. So that's my motivation, is to be able to help. So since then, my wife is a different person. She works alongside of me in our health programs, and they're very grueling because we go from 6:45 in the morning until 9 o'clock at night, and we don't have much of a break in between. We do one a month where people come and stay for 8 days with us at the ranch. And when you have sick people, it can be sometimes almost 24 hours a day. It depends on the person. And she's improved tremendously. I told this story yesterday, and I'll just briefly say it again because you've already heard it. But it has worked well with people with all kinds of disease. We can't make any claims because we're real careful, because the FDA could remove this product, and none of us that use it want it taken off the market. Because I'll tell you a situation. There was a product I used to use for cancer 10, 12, 14 years ago. I don't remember exactly how far back. It's called MGN3. MGN3 was a compound that was made in Japan, made up of stabilized rice bran and 3 mushroom that were concentrated into this product. It was expensive. It was like $1 a pill, but it worked to reverse cancer in many people's lives. It worked so well that the FDA removed it. We haven't been able to get it for all those years. And so the problem is people make claims. And when you make claims, you get in trouble. So I can't make claims, but I can give testimonies. We had, see which one I want to give you first. I'm only going to give you 2 or 3. But, well, let me just tell you, first of all, how I think it works in the human body. What it does, it helps to extend those telomeres and your DNA becomes younger. As your DNA becomes younger, your body starts to repair. And it starts to repair areas of the body that need to be repaired. And from what the science behind it says is that it goes to the most needed area of the body first. Now, in my own experience, I've been pretty healthy, I've been pretty blessed, and I thank the Lord for that. However, I had a few problems too. You might laugh at this one, but I was bald back here. My hair all grew back in. Well, I didn't care that I was bald. It didn't bother me. My dad was bald, and of course it comes from your mother's side, and I had the same markings that my mother's brothers had. And it was really thin, getting thin through here. I had a bald spot on top and a bald spot in the back. And my wife said, look at your hair. I said, what do you mean, look at my hair? I hadn't paid any attention. She says, it's growing back. So, all right, well, that's great. So my hair grew back. And I've had a little problem with vision. I still need reading glasses, but I can see fine distant-wise now. It's really helped that. I've had other people, it hasn't affected me yet this way, and I'm hoping it will, but it is veterans who've been around a lot of loud noises or worked in an industry where there's a lot of loud noises. It's helped to reverse deafness or hard to hear. And there's been a couple of people that's been able to remove their hearing aids that we know of that no longer need them. It works again, in the area that's most needed, and then it goes through the whole body. So right at first, I was hoping, it's going to give me energy, because everyone that takes it says that they have tremendous energy. Well, it didn't work for me. I says, I am so disappointed, but my hair grew back. So anyway, after about taking it about 3-4 months, my energy just bounded back. But it went someplace else in my body and started working first. So that's kind of how it works. It's a natural component that these scientists put together. And it's put together, and the name of the company is Isagenix. Isagenix. And you'll see it on the screen in just a little bit. But before I show it, this presentation is an hour and 10 minutes long on here, so you're only going to see 10 minutes of it. I'm not going to bore you with all the details of how this works. But it definitely works, because in this presentation it gets into how it came about. Right now, they expect, the reason they call it Product B, I thought, what a terrible name for a Product B. I said, my mother-in-law takes it. I better not say it out loud. She'd disown us if I tell her age, but she's up there a little ways. And she has been taking Product B. She looks 10 years younger than she did when she first started. You're going to see a couple of pictures to bear that out in a minute. And she at first says, I take vitamin B. This is too expensive for vitamin B. I don't want to take it. I said, that's not what it means. And so I had to explain it to her, and she's glad she stayed with it, because it's really made her look younger, made her feel better. She lives in Big Bear City, and her backyard's on the side of a hill. And so she couldn't go down to the bottom of the hill to her gate, which isn't very far, to her fence, and walk back up without being totally out of breath. Now she runs up and down. Athletes are beginning to take this. I got a call, and all of a sudden we became well known, and I don't know how, but I got a call from a man in New Jersey. He says, I am the kickboxing champion, heavyweight champion of the world. I said, wow. And I don't even know what that means, kickboxing. I think they put them in little cages and they sit there and kill each other. I think it must be a very brutal sport. But nevertheless, he said, I have a match coming up, And he said in about 2 or 3 months, he said a title fight, and he said, I'm older now, and these younger guys are quicker. He says, I need an edge. So his title fight was in February. And so this was November when he calls. Says, well, I've been told that this will help, give you endurance and quick recovery. He said, okay, I want to take it. So he wanted to double up and take twice as much as what they recommend. To my knowledge, it appears, he didn't call me, and I had to find out through other sources that it sounded like he won his match. Now, I wouldn't advise anybody getting involved in something like that, but he did. And athletes are beginning to take it all over. But nevertheless, I would like to show you a clip from ABC. Let me see if I can find it here without messing this up. I'll try to do it before we turn the sound on. Okay, I'm going to have to play it.
Technology in our lifetime or in this generation, and since
nice, but we always wonder what
foundation, the core health of these cells,
ABC will be on just a second.
And induce that telomerase to support the telomeres and get the DNA to change its expression. When that takes place, the outward expression of the cell takes on a whole new appearance. It takes on a more optimal, superior level of expression. Nothing magical, nothing that's not unexplainable now. So you guys really understand how we age and why we age and how the human body has this miraculous ability to address that issue and run optimally. You understand more about telomeres and telomerase and aging than 99% of the world. So this is very powerful information, and I hope that you don't take it for granted. Again, knowledge is powerful. So the proper knowledge implemented properly could change the world dramatically. So we're on a mission to do that, to educate people. So incredible information, right? Take a look at what ABC News reported on what really happened with these mice, a little more detailed than what Dr. Mercola talked about. Take a listen here.
And now, eternal youth. Is it in a cage around the corner? News tonight of a breakthrough for some pioneering mice. But we always wonder, what does a fountain of youth for rodents reveal for humans? Here's Sharon Alfonsi reporting.
I feel tremendous.
In the movie Cocoon, it's a swimming pool that turns back the clock for a group of senior citizens. But now researchers have found a way not just to stop, but reverse the aging process. The key is something called a telomere. We all have them. They're the tips or caps of your chromosome, seen here in yellow. This is what it looks like in a young adult. But as you grow older, the telomeres become damaged and frayed, and as they stop working, we start aging, experiencing things like hearing and memory loss. Scientists took mice who were prematurely aged, added an enzyme, and essentially turned their telomeres back on. Look at this picture. The mouse on the right has bad skin, gray hair, and is balding. But the one on the left had its telomeres flipped back on.
And you could see that essentially you now have a dark coat color, that the hair is restored, that the coat has a nice healthy sheen to it.
Even more dramatic, the change in brain size. This is before. The mice had 75% of a normal brain, like a patient with severe Alzheimer's. But after the telomeres were reactivated, the brain returns to normal size.
So isn't that amazing? I mean, that's incredible. So right here, the mice had lost 25% of their brain capacity or acuity, reasoning ability, and that was similar to severe Alzheimer's. And then after they activate this gene, the brain capacity or mental acuity is restored. Even the size of the brain, the physical size, it's just astounding. Like Dr. Mercola said, it's just astounding. So, all of this comes from what Bill Andrews and his contribution, his lifelong passion. Can one person make a difference? Absolutely. And Bill Andrews definitely has made a difference, the man who would stop time. So that's the research and a lot of information that I, have collected from the 1930s all the way up to like 2009. And so, again, this information is very powerful. And right now we're taking third generation product B. And we're seeing amazing things and miracles was giving them product B, Dr. Robert Watine. And that's a very important thing for all of us. It's the number one most important thing to us when it comes to our health and our ability to enjoy our lives. So there was, after 1 year, product B, like Bill Andrews said, it's going to become a household name. Dr. Robert Watine, a board-certified internal medicine doctor out of Orlando, Florida, he was very skeptical, it says in the clip. And in spite of being skeptical, he's tried it out, right? No test, no testimony. So he started giving it to his patients in his office. And he started to see their health being restored. And he said, I only changed one variable, and that was giving them product B. Dr. Robert Watine, over 400 of his patients, he's seen an improved quality of life. And he says, look, I don't know about a fountain of youth, but I do know about quality of life, and that's what we're talking about here. It's not how many years you live, it's how many years you get to live, literally get to live, and enjoy life. This is Bob Sheridan. He's known as the Colonel in the boxing world. He's in the Boxing Hall of Fame. He's an announcer. He's announced more title bouts than any other announcer. And he was Muhammad Ali's announcer, along with a lot of other very famous boxers. And he had a heart attack in 2011. And it put him into an induced coma to let his body repair. And then he died 4 times in that induced coma. And he came out, and his heart ejections were very low, and they basically sent him home on hospice. And a friend of his, Dennis and Sharon Allen, who also live in Las Vegas, where Bob's from, got him on the product and said, let's just see if we can help improve the quality of your life. So you tell me, this is about 8 months later. His producer called him and asked him, where'd you get your facelift, Bob? It looks fantastic. You can't even tell. He's back to announcing. He's announcing all over the world. Fight News has interviewed him 3 times, and wondering what the heck is going on. It's like he got a renewed lease on life. Bob just got permission from the Boxing Commission to take product B to the boxing world. So fantastic. I mean, those guys need it, right? Everybody needs it, but people who are under extreme stress physically and pushing their bodies to the limit, they need to support their telomeres as well. This is a picture that his wife took sitting in the recliner at home. So we call that youthful aging. Okay, you guys get to decide. Another picture I'd like to show you here is of somebody that had a health challenge. Their posture just wasn't very good at 81 years old. And, some people might say, well, that's normal. I mean, after 81 years, you could expect those types of things because we see that as, a common thing that happens for people. Well, she got on the product and her posture increased very rapidly. And she enjoys a much better posture and ability to get around and move around. This is a picture of her here before and after. And something pretty significant, too, the body has this amazing ability to rejuvenate itself. And we can see in a picture here that along with that goes your toenails as well. You can see a picture of a toenail that just wasn't doing so well here. I think she had that for over 5 years. And you can see this new healthy, better quality of toenail after 1 week. 2 weeks later, that fell off, and this is what was underneath. So amazing, right? Improvement of quality of life. That's what we're talking about here. Youthful aging. Bill Andrews, his girlfriend, Molly Sheridan, put her on the product. And she's an ultra marathon runner just like Bill Andrews. They'll run these races that are over 100 miles long. And she did the high. It's in the Himalayas, second highest elevation. And it's 130 miles long. It goes from 13,000 feet to 18, back to 14, back to 18, and then back down. And you only get 60 hours to complete the race. And only 7 people have accomplished that race up to that point when Molly ran it. She did it 2 years earlier and didn't complete the race. Well, she did this time. She crossed the finish line in 59 hours. She's the 7th person and the first female. And she says there's no question. There's no question that the product made a difference in her ability to be able to finish that race. And so who followed suit the following year? Bill Andrews at 60 years old. He's now the oldest person to have completed that race. And he did it in 50 hours. He said on his Facebook post, take 3rd generation of product B, I've set new personal records. I know that he beat a record that he had set 20 years ago. So eventually every athlete will be on product B. They're coming in droves right now, some pretty incredible athletes. So here's Bill Andrews when they released product B back in August of 2000.
I'll stop it there. There's just a lot more. And you can see, well, I guess I turned it off accidentally. But anyway, it definitely works to be able to restore health. And that's the idea. The look younger is just a side benefit as far as I'm concerned. Because we all would probably like to look youthful for most of our life. And what it's done for me personally, just quickly, in addition to my hair, it has helped to keep my mind stronger. And I was beginning to have those senior moments, and where I would get, I'll be talking to someone, and I was like, oh boy, I forgot the word I'm supposed to be saying. But that's pretty well gone now. My mind has pretty well come back. And that's what makes it worthwhile to me. Somebody with cancer, if it helps that would make it worthwhile for them. And somebody with heart disease, just like Bob Sheridan you saw up there. Bob Sheridan definitely was dying. And they sent him home to die. And they put him on the product B, and it rebuilt the heart. And this is what it does, to my knowledge. Now, I can't make claims, as I said, and I have to be very careful how I word these things. But at the same time, it definitely works. And we've seen it recreate people's hearts. And I told you about the man yesterday with cancer who was on this product. I'll just reiterate real quickly. He came to see me 2 weeks before. He came out to our program. He had liver cancer metastasized into the lining of the lungs. And he was in so much pain that I had to help him out of the chair to get back to his car to go home. Came back 2 weeks later, went through our program. We put him on the product B. And when his daughter and son and other family members in a van came to pick him, he and his wife up, he hid out in the bushes in our driveway. We have 15 acres, so the driveway is pretty long. And he knew they were coming by cell phone, and when he saw them entering the driveway, he ran as fast as he could down the driveway. 74 years old. And there wasn't a dry eye in that car. They were all so happy and elated what they saw. And I told you that he was just recently up on a roof putting shingles up at 74. No pain, feels great. He had been on a drug that was costing $500 a month and made him sick as a dog. He told the doctor he wasn't going to take it anymore. So we're praying that it goes all the way, because he was stage 4. And we've heard other cases of that nature, and particularly mentally. We've had a number of people that are dementia patients, Alzheimer's patients, that it's made a difference in their life, and their minds are coming back. Now, pardon me? About Parkinson's disease? Well, it works on neurological problems like Parkinson's, MS, and as well, and it helps to reverse it. But one thing about some of these diseases that makes it work best is to cleanse and do a detoxification first. Because heavy metals, unless we get them out, they could be the cause. And so we got to go, as Sister White said, in Ministry of Healing on page 234 and 235, that we are to go from cause to effect. We need to find out what the cause is and then go about intelligently to remove that cause. And in this day and age, many of the causes of disease are chemical toxins, and also heavy metal toxins. And I may have shared this last year, but I checked my heavy metals a few years back, and when it came to uranium, I was clear off the chart. I mean, it was on a line graph on a regular piece of paper, and the line was clear to the end of the paper. I said, where do I get that? How could I possibly have that much radiation in my system? And it was because probably I did missionary work close to Chernobyl, which was never cleaned up properly, and a lot of the foods in which we ate were grown on farms close to Chernobyl. And that's the only thing I can figure. But yet, we'd be surprised probably if we did analysis of our heavy metals and found out our levels. And I was a little bit high in mercury because I had amalgams at one time. They're all been removed now. But and because of I had a little bit of aluminum too and a little bit of lead. Did you know that 35 milligrams of lead in your brain can bring your IQ down by 15 points? So if our IQs have gone down, if our memories have gone down, it could be heavy metals that's caused that. It is a possibility. So we need to detox on that. And I promised I would talk a little bit about that. But let me finish on this product B. And then I'm only going to spend a couple more minutes on it. And then we'll get into a couple of how to detox our brains and our bodies real quickly. And then we'll get back to vampiring, you know. I'm the vampire, so I'll be glad to take a drop of blood out of whoever would like to finish off here. But if you are interested in the product at all, let me know. And the problem, it's not really a problem. It was a problem in my mind at first because it was a network marketing company. I didn't like network marketing companies. And I've been in 2 or 3 of them over my life and never made any money and lost friends. And so, no, I never lost friends. I don't go that far. I had my best friend growing up. Our kids are the same age. We grew up together, became Christians about the same time. And I became an Adventist. He became Calvary Chapel. And we still maintain a friendship even all these years. But all of a sudden we almost lost it because he went into Amway. And all of a sudden, because I didn't want to join Amway, he didn't want to talk to me anymore. So I said, if I ever get into that, I never will get to that point. But nevertheless, the cost involved of the product B is a $29 membership fee like they all have. That's an annual fee. And then the product itself is for one bottle. It's a graduating scale depending on how many bottles a person might want. Now, one bottle is for one person for 1 month. You take 4 capsules a day. They're veggie caps, everything in it. Anything like green tea, has all the caffeine has been removed. They do not use anything with caffeine or anything like that. And what he does, he's tried 306,000 experiments before he came up with it. Can you imagine? 306. There's other companies out there saying that they've got it, but they've tested them. They say no, they don't, because they don't have the research behind it to find out the various ways. And every time a company comes out, they test it to find out whether it does work or not. And to date, none of them work. Now, some help. There's also other products that will help to a small degree, and that would be CoQ10. CoQ10 also helps with the telomeres to a point. It also helps your mitochondria, and it helps with energy levels. But this product is a high antioxidant. And the cost of it is, for one bottle, it's a little pricey, is $77. That would be a month. For 2 bottles, it goes down to $72 each. You save $10. And it just goes down. They got a sliding scale. But you got to keep in mind, they spent $34 million in research, so that's part of it to have to recover that. And they keep researching it, and they keep making it better. So if you have any interest at all in it, I have forms here. Now, this doesn't obligate you to anything, these forms. I'll just put them up here. If you put your name and phone number on it, I'll call you and we'll talk about it and you can make your decision. So don't be afraid to put your name on there. It's not going to go anywhere but to me. And then I'll call you and we'll talk about it. And if you choose to go with it, then we can do it on the phone. Is that fair enough? Okay, let's talk about detoxification. I'll leave these up here someplace when I step down, probably on the front pew. But detoxification is very important. We'll see the clock back there. And I want to get a lot of you done too, so I'll make it as quick as possible. There's several ways to detoxify the brain and the heavy metals out of the body. And what I would recommend is you set a time aside that you're going to do this, and you want to work on your bowels, the 5 eliminating organs. The bowels are number 1. If they are sluggish, they're not moving. What constitutes constipation is having 1 bowel movement or none each day. We should have at least 2 bowel movements preferably one for every meal. And most of us don't. So we got to help things out when we detoxify. Now what you can do to get a good cleanse for the bowel is to make a poultice up, and you can make that poultice up out of psyllium seed and psyllium husk. And I'll give you proportions if you'd like to have that. I'll tell you how we make it. Psyllium seed, three parts. Now a part can be a tablespoon, it can be an ounce, it can be a pound. It can be any measurement that you choose. So when I give you parts, you'll have to convert it over to whatever measurement you want to do. Psyllium seed, 3 parts. Psyllium husk, 3 parts. And I'll stop there so you catch up to me. Then we use powdered charcoal, 1 part. And we use 1 part of clay. Bentonite clay is what we use. And then we would use 1 part, of ground flaxseed. Now you don't have to use all these ingredients. There's a lot. Since we operate a ministry and we give this to people all the time, we actually will do all this. It's to be able to bring it about, and it's more efficient this way. The more that of the product or the items that you can use. The last 2 items basically are pectin, and we use apple pectin, and 1 part. And then 1 part of marshmallow, not the white stuff that you buy in the grocery store. It's an herb, a marshmallow. And this helps to pull out toxins. What happens is that when you take this internally, you have to picture your colon. In your colon you have little pockets called diverticuli. And these diverticuli oftentimes get foreign objects in them. An example, popcorn seeds. And I could tell you stories about people who's come to my program with popcorn, but anyway, I won't. And so we have to get all that out of the colon so it can draw and pull. And now this is going to draw 500 times its weight in toxins out of the body. So it's going to pull those heavy metals and the chemical toxins. And if you do that, you're going to be better off for it. Now, how long should you do that? You need to do it at least 5 days. Now, heavy metals are hard to come out. You won't get them all out in 5 days, but you'll get a lot of the chemicals out in some of them. Now, a way to be able to get the toxins out of the brain would be through, it's called Zeolite. And you can go online and order Zeolite from a number of different companies out there. And you want to use, you can get it either in liquid form or powder. It's better in liquid if it's micronized. That's one thing you want to make sure it's micronized. Micronized means it'll go through the entire body, including the brain. And what it is, it's, I believe, I always get this backwards, but I may have it backwards now, but I believe it's negatively charged. It could be positive. Just like I said, I sometimes get this backwards. But it's negative charge, and toxins are positive charge, and works like a magnet and draws them in. And it goes out within 24 hours after you've taken it in your body. If you get the powder, you want to take 1/4 teaspoon in water 2 to 3 times a day. We have seen it work miracles with cancer and other things like that. But it really helps to detoxify. And then the product B can really work to be able to do what it's supposed to do. And now back to the poultice. I kind of left it hanging. How much do you take? I would take a teaspoon 3 times a day in either water or juice. Now we give more than that, but without supervision I would stay with a teaspoon 3 times a day. Then at nighttime you need to push it out the next day because it can be binding. And then you could use heavy doses of magnesium. That's a very natural way to move your bowels. You've heard of milk of magnesia. Well, it's mostly magnesium in liquid form, but they have chemicals in there too. But you can use magnesium citrate to do the same thing. How much would you need to take? It depends on you. Some people need very little, others need a lot. So I would start out, if you buy the magnesium citrate, actually we use magnesium oxide. It works better, but it's hard to find it. Although the Now brand actually makes magnesium oxide. So if you go into a health food store that has Now products, they probably would have it. But the magnesium oxide's in a powder. You take a teaspoon of that, see if that works. If that doesn't work, then you take more. You find your level. If you do the magnesium citrate, you can also find that in powder, and there's several brands out there. They're called Calm, Magna Calm, Magnesium Calm. You've probably seen that product. That'll get your bowels going. There's a little tiny scoop inside. You put it in warm water, but I would do 2 to 3 scoops. I wouldn't do just one if you're doing a cleanse. 1 scoop isn't going to do it. Now, you can use herbs if you prefer. You can use Cascara sagrada. That's my favorite. And again, you'll have to find your level. You can take 1 to start with, and if you don't have a outstanding bowel movement, I mean, it's kind of hard to talk about bowel movements, but anyway, we all have them. And then take 2 the next night. And if that doesn't do it, take 3. Find your level. Now, if you're taking a poultice and you're not having bowel movements, quit taking it until you start having bowel movements. We don't want to bind you up. That's very important. And during this period of time, drink a ton of water. Try to drink a gallon of water a day to really flush out the system. And it's a good idea to put lemon juice. Some of you know that. I've talked about this all morning with people. You put the juice of lemon in your first quart of water. It's very cleansing to the body. And we want to pull it out. What foods can we use to pull out heavy metals? Well, first of all, we can use high doses of vitamin C. High dose of vitamin C will attach itself to toxic materials and pull them out. Another thing is cilantro, believe it or not. Something I can't hardly eat. And some people love it. My wife can eat it by the handfuls, so she can have it. I like it in salsa, but anyway, I try to eat it, but I have a hard time with it. But that really works well. Parsley too, well, to a point, because it's in the parsley family. Parsley not quite as much, but it will do it. And so these are things. Yes, ma'am. Vitamin C, I would go up to, we want to go beyond bowel tolerance, because you can use vitamin C also to push things out. So go up to where it pushes the bowel or helps the bowels to work a little better. So it depends on each person. Some person may only be able to do 2,000-3,000 milligrams, and others can do 5,000. So you've got to find your level. And what I would do is get a buffered vitamin C. And you want a buffered vitamin C because it will not hurt your stomach. Buffered means it probably has some minerals in it. And yes, ma'am.
Yes, I was told that whenever you take the magnesium, you should always take vitamin C with it. There's something about it that pulls something out.
Right. Well, it buffers it. The magnesium buffers the vitamin C. Because some of the vitamin C, ascorbic acid, citric acid, and other types of vitamin C can burn the stomach. So you got to be careful. It's not a bad idea to take it with food. In fact, it should be taken probably with food. So anyway, that also adds to it. All right. Any question? Now, how long do you go? I think I already mentioned it, 5 days minimum. You can go a little longer if you want to. But don't be one of these people that chronically cleanse. I have people deplete themselves of minerals and other things in their body because they chronically cleanse. You need to set a set time and stay within that time, and you'll work better. Now, it's always a good idea to make sure your bowels move. What are the other eliminating organs? Let me just do that real quick. Of course, the kidneys and the waterworks, and as I mentioned, drink a lot of water. Number 3 would be your lungs. Believe it or not, when you exhale, you're exhaling toxins at that point. Your lymphatic system is also part of your eliminating organs. So you got to exercise. You got to get that movement, because you have 25,000 miles of lymphatic vessels throughout your body with no heart, no pump. So you got to move in order to get the lymphatics out. And the last one is the largest eliminating organ. What is your largest eliminating organ? You got it. The skin. Exactly. The skin. You got to perspire. Perspiration's good. We may not like doing it, but at the same time it's good. And so I get out in the hot desert sun as long as I can stand it, and I'll perspire out there in the summer months. And it really helps to cleanse me. But then I need to shower that night. But you don't want to, if you're going to also get some sunshine for the vitamin D3, which we talked about yesterday, don't shower or bathe that off within a couple of hours. You're going to stop the chemical reaction from taking place. We'll want to get the vitamin D. All right. Your lymphatic system, well, it carries out excess proteins and fats and other toxins in it. It dumps it into the bloodstream and out that way. But we have to move it. And when we have sedentary jobs, like we go from our home to a computer job or something like this, and we don't do any exercise, we're causing that to become stale inside of our body. So we've got to move around and exercise that. Some of the best exercise would be a little rebounder. That really works really well, that up and down motion, to be able to move the lymphatic system. All right, any questions on anything at this point? Because I need to bring it to a close in order to get back in there and start doing more live blood cell. Or some of you are going to be mad at me because I won't be able to get it done. I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
The CoQ10,
Uh-huh.
what was the normal dosage?
Well, it depends on which type. There's ubiquinol and biquinol. And biquinol is what you really want to use instead of ubiquinol. If you use ubiquinol, it takes twice as much, but you can get by a minimum amount of, I would say, about 100 milligrams. If it's ubiquinol, you need at least 200 milligrams. No, I'm about through. I think I've overextended my welcome but let me just say this.
No, it's actually the opposite. I'm coming up here to tell you the opposite. You do have a lot of people that want to see you.
Okay, so I'm going to get
I have
right
this
to it.
suggestion.
Okay.
Why don't you come back?
Okay. I'll come back if you want me to.
Do you want him to come back? Everybody wants him to come back, vote right now. All right. So why don't you just go ahead and start seeing those folks that you need to see.
Okay.
And you and I can talk about a time when it's good for you.
Sure.
To come back.
I'll be glad. I love this church. I feel at home here.
We do too.
Well, I met him up north, and I've always kind of felt close to him, since I met him.
You too.
Yeah,
you
thank
too.
you.
We go to a camp meeting together.
Yeah, we do.
Anyway, all right.
Yeah, I'm going to leave these up here. Anybody that's interested in more information, just fill it out and give it to this lady back here, if you don't mind collecting them. I got a whole pile of them here.
All right.
So I'm going to take care of my computer.